Great Monday morning, moms and dads. Hey, we're going to have a little bit of fun today. We're going to talk about the grandfather, the seed of guiding behavior versus punishment, and where it actually came from. And this is such a fun story. We are Bonnie and
Thomas Leota.
Yes, and we are creating champions for life. We're working with parents literally all over the globe. They're learning how to guide behavior versus punish their kids. They're seeing empowerment, more teamwork, happy kids, like honestly, kids who are just like angry and not really engaging in life come back to life with a new zest for life. And Tom's going to explain kind of how he felt the first time he ever experienced this in his life. And before he talks, you got to see this. You got to see this little picture. Just look at this little cutie patootie, okay? Can you see what he's doing there? That's an axe in his hand. All right, so I want you to talk about your dad, Tom. Now, Tom has worked with literally thousands of kids, and most of the kids that he worked with in the first 15 years were kids that were being asked to leave their traditional day homes, and when they got to Tom, there was like literally nowhere else to go. So I am extremely grateful for this individual that planted a seed in Thomas, God, almost 50 years ago now.
Well, thanks you. You're absolutely correct. You know, there was a combination of my dad's mom, which was a grandma to me, but she would never go by the name of grandma. She was a mom. So I'm gonna be mom. I never had a grandma. It wasn't awkward. It was kind of cool. They were like, so who's your grandma? I don't have a grandma. Well, did she pass away? No, she's still alive. Then you have a grandma. I'm like, no, she's a mom. So, you know, learning to creating champions for life at a very young age can be a little awkward because the rest of the kids don't even know what the language is. So, with that being said, as you can see there in the picture, some of you that might just be joining now, but you see that on the little guy there, that was me. I was probably, maybe 4 or 5 right at the time. And so one of our chapters is guiding behavior versus punish. It's a real simplistic point of view of, you can look at it as, over my dead body, are you going to do whatever you want to do? Or, let's find a way to make it actually happen, because I know it's going to happen eventually. Let's stop postponing the inevitable. And in this case, if you might be able to see it, but there's a big buck knife that's strapped right onto my belt right there. And then I've got myself an axe-wielding little hatchet, right? All sharpened and everything, right? You know, cut your fingers off. You hurt yourself. I mean, I can remember from my overcompensating mom of just literally, Dad would have to do this with Mom not in eyesight, right? Because she would go into complete panic mode. But one of the things that my dad would do is he would never say yes or no. He would never say yes or no. He'd always ask questions about, well, what is it you want to do? And in this case, I saw, like a monkey see, monkey do. I could see that we had to make firewood. And it was that learning process of how could you gather it and make it on your own. So this was that do for, do with, so you can do on your own. And he got me it was the hatchet and the knife. I had it on my little belt because it would fit like that. And he would hold it, but he would talk about, what is your goal? What would you like to do? And so everything you see in the picture was, he was guiding me on something that was important to me. Now, what was really, really powerful here is that there was a trusted advisor relationship. This is really one of the most missed things in all the families that we have the privilege to bless with this knowledge. It is so powerful. When you look at the guiding, it was driven from inside. I'm focused. I know what I want to do, and he was guiding me rather than punishing. And so he would show me first, we would do it together, and in this picture, he was holding the wood, but I was starting to do it all by myself. That was the third phase. And so it was all driven. What is it you'd like to do? What is it you want to do? Well, I'd really like to be able to do something like that. Well, let's find a way, when, where, or how it can work. And that puts us in that double positive versus, I see something I don't like, and you can't, don't, or won't. That's the negative side.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I look at this picture, look at it again. It's so cute. I look at this picture and I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't know, like if somebody saw this and didn't understand what was going on, it'd be like, are you crazy? You know, someone's going to call social services on you. Your child shouldn't be playing with a hatchet or an axe when he's 4 years old. And there is Grandpa, there's Dad, Grandpa Tommy, right? Tom's dad, teaching him how to use a hatchet. And other things too. So what I love about Tom's dad, Tom Sr., I guess, Tom Sr., he's passed away now, so I never actually got an opportunity to meet him live, but he lives in my heart just like my own grandpa because of the seeds that were planted inside of Thomas for me and my kids, for our clients, and I really feel like for all of humanity, because it really says it all, that picture where most of us, including Tom's mom, would have been like, heck no, you're not playing with a hatchet, you could hurt yourself. And then what happens is the little guy begins to resent the parents, and he comes around the corner, he does it when nobody's around, and actually what your greatest fear was comes true, and the child would actually get hurt. And what I see here is Tom Sr. showing him the life skills on how to use a hatchet safely. Our kids are so much more capable, I think, than we give them credit for.
Very true.
And I always like to go back, we've talked about the Spartans before. At the age of 6, these kids were literally taken from their families and sent off to train for several years, and then they were warriors by the time they were 12 or 13. Even your grandma, so your grandma, mom,
my dad's mom,
right? So she kind of hung on to some of those old school philosophies where the kids should have responsibility and they deserve the life skills. So it was that very much, I'm on your side to help you get what's important to you. Let me show you the life skills on how to do it safely. Let me show you the tasks that need to be done before we can even get to this task. It's all about guiding their behavior, because I imagine if your dad said, oh yes, little Tommy, I'd love for you to play with the hatchet, use the hatchet. We're going to plan a little training session a little later on. But for now, can you help me do up these dishes or whatever?
Well, in this case, we had to gather sticks.
Oh, okay. Gather firewood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. That's great. So tell me what kind of energy you would have as a child with a dad like that, where you're like, I get to play the hatchet later and I'm going to help him do some chores and stuff. Like, what kind of energy goes through you when you experience that versus when you're with your mom and she was like, no, we don't do that?
Well, you had to walk on eggshells around mom, or basically had to do it behind her back. So that was kind of like you had to go in Operation Light, Cheat or Steal without being in eye shot. But with dad, you felt like you were a superhero. You could do anything. It was one of those relationships that it was tough to explain to my other friends at all, because they had a dad, like an adult, but they didn't have like the best friend that I had. It was that trusted advisor. You could go to him with anything. Dad, I want to do this. And it wouldn't matter what it was. He would acknowledge it and go, okay. He wouldn't say yes or no, and just, you felt like you had a trusted, guided advisor that would allow you, that they could do for you, do with, but with the strongest idea that you could do it all on your own. Like you could just feel it inside. It was like, let me show you the shortest, quickest, fastest way so you'll never have to need me again, but we'll be buddies for life or trusted advisor for life. You felt on top of the world. You were always in I can, because the how that was missing in my head, like how can it make it happen? I knew that my dad wouldn't just tell me how to do it. He would give me some clues, or better yet, he would always ask me those questions. And what I love best is he always got me to think, and then he guided me as I went along the way, because he knew I'd make some mistakes. But as you did, those obstacles, mistakes, went from a problem, I can't, to a puzzle, which is, I think I can. And it was that consistent process that really went toe to toe. And just to bring it into perspective, I can see why he got it, because my his mom, when I was 3 years old, when we lived in California, she lived up on the 3rd floor of the apartment building. So you had to go down 3 spirals of stairs. walk across, go about, a couple hundred feet, cross the crosswalk, and they might not even have these anymore, right? This is back in the 70s, like early 70s, those big blue round things, you open up the hatch and you stick something in and shut the door. Anything come to mind? Do they have those in Canada?
Like newspaper?
No, it was a big blue mailbox, right? You open it up, put your letter in, and shut it. They were big.
They're red in Canada.
Okay, they were blue in California, but they were sitting on the corner. So my mom, we would go on a field trip. We'd go down, go through, and I'd watch her the whole time. Then the next time, I got to put it in the envelope. Then the next time, she sat on the other side of the street. I walked across the crosswalk and put it in by myself and came back. Then it was down by the staircase, walked to the corner, crosswalk, put it in, came back. Then it was at the third step. She stood at the top and watched, and I got to go down the stairs to the corner, across it, all in eye shot. We played a game like Simon Says, like what's to do next. And then when it was time to just go do the mail, can I go put it in the mailbox? I was in, back, and done. And it was one of those things of, look what I did. I was always in the empowerment mode with them. And then when Mom remarried, that's when I met the dark side, right? And stepdad, that was totally double negative. The best blessings in the world to have the dream and the actual path that brought us here today.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. Well, today was a nice, lighthearted day. Just some things to think about. What are your kids? What are you empowering your kids to work towards today?
Right.
What's a privilege that they can actually engage in life and have a feeling inside of their spirit that I actually made this happen for myself. Look at me and look at all I can do, because that's really where confidence comes from, is from being able to get through a few obstacles, to struggle here and there, and finally accomplish it all on your own.
And here's a plus one that just came to my head. I was thinking, like, well, what would be the message we could pass to you? Because you're probably thinking, that's neat for you, but what about me? It was, the cornerstone here was, no matter how much doubt, fear, or anxiety that I had inside of me as a little kid, I always felt and knew that they always believed I could learn. I always remember that from my dad, and always I remember that from my mom.
Yes.
I know you can do this. I believe in you. And it was that power that kind of gave me just enough to go to into that dark area, knowing what to do, that gave me that power. So if you can actually, for a moment, look at your little geniuses and believe. And if they were to ask you, Mommy, do you think I could learn? What would you say? And if you can say yes, then it's that process of starting to do just a little less each time, and allow them to take on those little baby steps. And that's the cornerstone. That's the keystone to creating champions for life.
Yes, thank you so much for being part of our group, part of our journey. We love being part of your journey. If you haven't yet gone to learntospeakkid.com and read that book, Raising Healthy, Happy, Cooperative Kids, I strongly encourage you to do so, because if you're watching this, then you probably have some power struggles with your kids. And I believe that you have a dream to find solutions that'll be empowering for you as well as them, and bring more peace and teamwork and harmony back into your home environment. You can do it, and we're here to help you.
All right. So until we meet again, here's to your parenting success. Cheers.
Bye for now.